For half of the debate, no matter what side you're on, you're going to be sitting in a desk. So what does that look like as far as your body language, your posture, your voice? How can you get a voice score if you're not supposed to be talking? And how do you take notes while you're listening to your opponent? I'm going to go over all of those things with you. First of all, you should have your packet with you when you sit down. But you should also have two other things. First, a pen or pencil, and second, a piece of loose leaf would be a great idea. This is why. First, you're going to need your packet, and you're also going to want to make marks and notes on it. You're going to need a pen or pencil so you can make those marks. And finally, you're going to want a piece of loose leaf to jot down extra ideas as you hear your opponent say different arguments you hadn't prepared for. It's okay to make up rebuttals on the spot. In fact, it's one of the fun parts of debate. Now, I do say a pen or pencil. I prefer a pencil because then it's light writing. If I were a sneaky person, it'd be pretty easy to carefully lean back, and if my opponent's using a marker, I can see what they just wrote down. Kind of clever, huh? So, I prefer a pencil, but I guess it's up to you. First, let's look at your posture. When you're sitting down, make sure that you're not slouched forward. Make sure you're not slouched way back. You still have your shoulders back, and you should not need to use the back of the seat. Instead, your posture should be taking care of itself. If you're sitting straight up with your shoulders back, you don't need to rest against it. Also, you may not be able to see this, but my knees, elbows, and feet are all touching. I'm not crossing my ankles, I'm not crossing my legs. Instead, there's a seam that could connect my two legs. If you cross your ankles or your legs, you might get that pins and needles feeling, and it'd be really embarrassing when you go to stand up and go to the podium if you fell over or you started giggling because you had that weird tingling sensation. Instead, sit like this so you have wonderful posture, and also that way you can avoid your leg falling asleep. Next, while your opponent is speaking, you should be listening or taking notes. If anybody sees you leaned over, kind of making eye contact or rolling your eyes at somebody in the audience, it's going to count against you. Also, you don't want to be messing with your hair, chewing gum and blowing bubbles. You don't want to be messing with anything that's on you. If you need to take off a sweatshirt or hoodie, or if you would like to take off your lanyard before you come up here, do that. That way it's not a distraction. Next, while you are listening, that means you are leaned forward, maybe your hands are even folded, and you're intently listening, maybe even nodding every so often. Your facial expression should be a poker face. You're not smiling or laughing at something they said. You're not grimacing in pain. You're not sticking your tongue out because they're stupid. You are simply listening, completely impartial. Now, as they're speaking, if they say something that you've prepared a rebuttal for, there's that tricky third column I asked you not to mark in. If they say something you've prepared for, take your pencil and draw a big X or check mark. That way, when you go up, you know if you're supposed to say, my opponent did say, or my opponent will say. It lets you know if it's been covered or not. Also, in that nice big area, if they say something you didn't anticipate, you could add another tagline on there, something else you could say that would prove them wrong. Now, there's some extra blanks in case they come up with something you hadn't prepared for. If it's an argument you didn't expect, write it down. Maybe if you can think of a reason why they're already wrong, you can write that down too while you're listening. If it's something that you don't have a response for, you can leave it blank. Maybe it'll come to you. You can still get a point on a rebuttal if there's no source. You can't really do that for support, so go ahead and take advantage of it. You might as well try to prove that it's wrong, even if you don't have a source to back it up. Finally, if you run out of room, you have that loose leaf paper there. That way you can jot down those extra notes. When you go to give your presentation, leave the pencil behind. It goes down on your desk before you go up. I think that's just about it. So remember, your posture, that's how you're going to get your score. Having shoulders back, legs together, leaning forward to listen. Your voice. If I can hear your voice anytime other than when you're at the podium, it's not going to get you a very good score. And finally, etiquette. You're not making faces, talking to anyone else. You're focused on what you're supposed to be doing. Good luck.